Good morning, students. This is Amit, and today I am there with you to discuss some interesting questions of Assertion Reason. And this is our special series of videos for you, in which we are going to solve Assertion Reason questions with you for specific chapters, and we'll discuss how we are going through with Assertion Reasons and how you should go through the Assertion Reasons. So let me start with that entire thing. So let me start with this. So this special session is for Assertion Reason, and we have named it Assertion Reason Conquerors. And we have seen with so many students that the confusion about my performance in Assertion Reason. Students right now are writing, I think, a lot of papers. You might also be writing those. They are writing so many questions, and one apprehension that is staying with them, that is about the assertion reason type questions. No matter what I am doing, if I'm, let's say, in a go, if I'm writing 4 or 5 questions, 1 or 2, whatever I do, they go wrong. So if you're somebody like that, or somebody who might be doing them correctly also, but they have an issue, I don't have that confidence when it comes to question. What question becomes, or what reason becomes will actually explain the assertion, which is not. I have this confusion in which, only half the reason is given for my assertion. All those things are there and all. So in this, we are going to cover 4 chapters for you. So we are discussing plant physiology unit, in which we are going for photosynthesis in plants, respiration in plants, plant growth and development, and we have taken one more chapter, that is a stray chapter, that will be microbes in human welfare, that will come under botany. Again, just through this video, we in Chaitanya want to show, okay, these are the questions available to you. That's how you can solve. And if something is getting wrong as well, that might not be the problem. So now why I'm saying that, I will be discussing that in the next slide. So if I'm going with the next slide. In this, we are discussing that, that students often lose marks in assertion reason questions, not because they don't know, but because they don't think correctly. And I totally agree with the statement, because sometimes the scenario is that we are thinking and we are overthinking, and we are going one step ahead when it comes to looking at the assertion reason question. A small amount of panic that sets in me while I am solving these questions. So let's simplify those things. So this Conqueror is there for you. So that's the motto for these videos are going to be think, link the statements, and then tick. So let's see that how we are going to do it there. So a small thing before me going into the questions and before me going into the assertion reason parts. This is a question that came to my head, and when I am teaching my students, this question keep on coming. So I want to summarize the feelings of a student that what is happening. Mistakes keep on occurring in A and R questions. No matter what I do, in every sheet of paper, I keep getting few of them wrong. See, at this point, there might be some questions you are doing beautifully, crisp questions. Okay, you know that this is the assertion, this is the reason, done. Or you know that this is not the assertion, or this is not the reason of the assertion. Beautifully, you might be doing those questions. But sometimes those questions, when they come in front of you, your brain is dicey about them. That, am I doing the right job? Is it the correct one? Is it not the correct one? And in that particular dilemma, I do mistakes in these questions. So let's clarify certain things. First of all the assertion reason questions that might be available to you, they might not be the right questions. One thing that has to be very clear, if you see assertion reason questions, it's almost a resurgence of assertion reason questions. Assertion reason questions used to be common in AIMS papers and ZIPMA, but in NEET, they were not there for some time, but in last 4 or 5 years, we have seen that there is a resurgence of assertion reason type questions. Now, what we have seen till now, and we can say very, based on the data that came in NCRT, came in NEET exams, is that the assertion reason are coming out to be crisp questions. Till now, not even a single question have appeared in biology, which somebody can claim that, to me, the answer of that question was not clear. So if you are somebody who is doing mistakes at lower frequency. Don't worry about them. You are probably already there. But issue is that when you are solving them, that confidence level is not coming up. So let me summarize this for you. So you are not the problem. Who's the problem? So at times the sources that students are solving, they are facing something that is called an author bias. Now what is an author bias? Let's say I am somebody who's framing the assertion reason question. So students do this, that if something is written in the book, if something is printed somewhere on the internet, or something is there in a material, something is there in a very reputed book, it is going to be a correct question. But the problem is, in those questions also there is an element of human error, and that's what creates a lot of problem for many students. So at that time, that particular author, while making that question, was in a particular kind of time, in particular type of concept frame. He thought at that time, he or she thought at that time that, this is the assertion and this is the reason or not the reason, and it did not connect those well. Sometime you are getting other weird questions also in the middle. Let's say some weird questions might be, two back-to-back lines in NCERT are given and they are treated as assertion and reason questions. There's one line and there's another line. There's no connection as such scientifically between them, but no, they will be treated as assertion reason question. Now that is another mistake that you see in many of the materials. Then you have this large number of useless assertion reason questions that might be there in the system. Let's say Carl Linné gave two kingdom classification, right? Now to this assertion, I am not getting a why out of it. Why he gave two kingdom classification. So sometime I am getting assertion reasons where you can't, so basically they are not assertion reasons. They are two independent statements which are available, but because they are related in Platonic sense, they are not related in scientific sense, we make those mistakes. So that is another type of question that are problematic. So to boost your, thinking, or you boost your confidence in this, one thing has to be clear. Not all questions available to you are same. They are different questions. All the questions are not correct. So if you are somebody who is solving great number of questions and getting few of them wrong, it is acceptable. Even if you give to your teachers, your faculties, they will also do those mistakes. So it's nothing out of there, because nobody can go and sit inside somebody's head and they cannot tell that what is the reality. So in that sense, so problem many times is the author's bias while making an assertion reason type question. If author is occupied with complex scientific thoughts, then it can cause erroneous and ambiguous questions. Now some assertion reason questions are just bad questions and they do not have any answer. See, somebody, let's say Watson and Crick gave something in 1953. Now, what is the reason of that? So how can you tell that year is important in any sense? How can that be in the assertion? So that's a problem. Sometimes you get those questions, we can't do anything about it. And rule of thumb is that, see, this is not the rule of thumb for NCERT, for solving NEET questions. But if let's say you have taken up a sheet of 40 questions, 50 questions, and you're solving assertion reasons question like anything, you are thinking that, I am doing these questions so that, I can get better at them. If out of 10 questions, you are getting 7 and 8 of them correct, 7 or 8 out of 10, you are getting them correct, don't worry, you are in good waters. You are doing your questions beautifully. Just from this point onwards, to give you the perspective that how to go about the questions, what should be there, we have made, so I have taken 4 chapters, I have taken 10 questions per chapter and put them together, that okay, how to go about them. So we have tried to get variety of questions in, the way of thinking in, and how you can make it a good assertion reason. We have tried our best that there is no ambiguity in the questions, but still it might exist. Don't worry about this. I am telling you a thinking process, how to go about it, and the assertion reason questions are going to be easier for you. All in all, NEET paper, our expectation is around 3 to 4 questions maximum for assertion reasons, both including botany, zoology, and they are supposed to be crisp questions. We have not yet seen, something that is debatable in NEET exams. So let's take to the next parts and let's take to the questions now. Now, there are various ways of solving the question. If you see in this series or other videos also, you might find that teachers have explained other ways to solve. Now, because these chapters that we are doing, like respiration, photosynthesis, PGD, these are more process based. They have particular processes, means a particular type of event is mentioned, and that event is actually, you have to explain one part of that event as a reason. So I'll try to discuss all assertion reasons. We'll track the variations of these assertion reasons. Let's say if that would have come, if let's say a statement would have been put into a different way, then did it change my answer or something like that? So we'll discuss all those things here. Let's start with the simple questions. Let's start with the first chapter, that is the photosynthesis. Let's start with the first question as well. So we are discussing with first question. So the assertion says the reaction center of PS1 is called P700. Now let me see that how I am looking at the questions. So for me, assertion and a reason. So reason has to be related to assertion, because the most amount of mistake that students make are from these first two statements, where both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation, and both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation. Third and fourth, you have to be clear that this is a right statement or a wrong statement, so it becomes a statement 1 or statement 2 type question, which is much easier to do. So most of the dilemma that occurs in 1 and 2 statement questions. So let's say if I am doing the question or you are doing the question, how to go about it. So I believe in something. There is something called student bias. Now see, because you are preparing for 2 years, most of the concepts are there in the back of your head. You already know the concepts, and your brain start to fire in such a way that start to make connections which are not there. The crisp connections are not there, but still your brain, okay, if this is there, then this has to be there and this has to be there. So that is a problem with the overthinking mind of a student. Or to be very frank, this is what is overthinking in these questions is. So to remove that bias part, what I can do, let's read the assertion first and don't read the reason. So whenever you see the question, see this, your brain will be telling let me look at the reason also along with the assertion. Don't do that. Or this should be the first way of doing it, and then you can go for, if nothing is happening, you can go for the next part. So let me do this question. So let's say if I'm doing this, so I am putting my hand over it. I don't want to see my reason that what is happening. So assertion is reaction center of PS1 is called P700. So to me, it's a correct statement. Now, the moment I read the statement, there are some thoughts coming to my head. Let me gather those thoughts. So PS1 is called P700 because, now in my head there is a reason that chlorophyll A700 is the reaction center of PS1. That's why it should be what? It is given the name of P700. Now I have a reason already. Now am I thinking for any other reason also? I think it's not firing up right now for me. I've come up with one reason. Now look for that reason. Is that reason in some form? Not always in verbatim. In some form, is it available? Let's check. So we have reason. Reaction center PS1 show peak absorption at 700 nanometer. Now check. My thought process was chlorophyll A is at 700, or it is chlorophyll A type 700. Now why it is a 700 type? Because it shows peak absorption at 700 nanometers. The way I thought, around 70% of it is there in the reason. Now that is my hint that it should be the what? It should be the correct explanation. So I will be going with what? I will be going that both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A or assertion. Okay, let's repeat the process. Let's see the next one. Next one, assertion. I'm putting my hand next to it. So Assertion is in C4 plants, photorespiration does not occur. Good. Is there a thought process that exists? Yes, I can think of something. So what can be those? So in C4 plants, what happens generally? So you have all the rubisco confined to the bundle sheath cells, and nothing is there in the mesophyll cells. And there's something called pepcase, or you have mesophyll cells which are bringing this CO2, and they are enriching the CO2. The word was enrichment of the CO2 at the level of the bundle sheath cells. That is coming to my head. That's why you don't have what? That's why you don't have photorespiration. Or I can say, think in a different way, that the rubisco's oxygenase activity is suppressed in this, and rubisco never come in contact of the oxygen. I'm getting these maximum, all these thoughts which can explain the upper part. I have gathered my thoughts. So I have 2-3 points in my head. It's about the enrichment activity. Second thing, that can be about my the presence of rubisco inside, so that it is not coming in contact of oxygen. That is one thought process. Or I can say activity of pepcase actually cuts me off from the environment because that is the one that is the first carboxylation is happening, and rubisco can only do second carboxylation. All these thought processes are there. They are all valid reasons in my head. So what we can go with? Let's see the reason. They have a mechanism to increase CO2 concentration. Increase CO2 concentration means enrichment of CO2 at the enzyme site. That's the correct one. That's the correct one. Now this question I have deliberately taken also. Now see again, I'll show you a small mistake in this question also. Now in NEET you will not find a question like this. Why? See, here they mentioned they. In they part, in NEET you are getting individual statements. Both the statements have to be correct in their, now when they have to be correct in their own sense, but when I put they here, it connects it to the previous statement. So it is 100% now connected to assertion. So that's not a good statement. It should be what? It should start with C4 plants show mechanism to increase concentration of CO2 at enzyme site. That should be a better statement. That will give me a better insight of the question. Though again, both the things are there and they are explaining the assertion. So I will go with it's a correct explanation of the assertion. So understand this, that though I am slowing down, but when you are, you have so much data in your head right now, you have to just use it and you can go fast and you can just do the questions also. Let's go to the next one. So the next one will be assertion. Again, the second set of question. I'll do the same thing. Carotenoids are axillary pigments of the photosynthesis. Carotenoids are axillary pigments of the photosynthesis. So what can exemplify them? So exemplification can be because they don't do the actual or they are not the reaction centers, they are doing axillary jobs. Axillary jobs are two. They are either making a light harvesting complex or they are helping as shield pigments. So these are the functions that they are available. The problem is the carotenoids are axillary pigments. So anything that can exemplify their function or their accessory nature, that can be the one. Now these are the questions which talk about examples. The previous question were a process based question. This process occurs, why it is occurring. Now a second set of questions. Many times when an assertion is made, I can tell the reason of that assertion in the form of its compatible example. That is what is happening here. So here you have carotenoids are axillary pigments of the photosynthesis. If I tell the accessory nature of carotenoid in the next answer or in my reason, I will be more than okay. So let's say, is a reason telling me the nature or the accessory nature of the pigment of carotenoids form light harvesting complex of photosystem. So when we are discussing LHCs, they are mostly made up of what? They are made up of pigments and proteins. And who is the main pigment there? Carotenoids are the main pigment. It is not saying it is made up only of carotenoids. So carotenoids, do they make light harvesting complexes or not? So are they So we know that harvesting complexes are made by which pigments? Axillary pigments. It is telling me, it's giving me a good example. I will say that A and R are true and it is the correct explanation of A. Let's move to the next question. In a variegated leaf experiment, green parts alone are tested positive for starch. Now, they are talking about the first 3 experiments which are given at the starting of the photosynthesis chapter. In that, we found out that the green part is the only one that gave iodine test, which came out to be blue color. So my head went there. So it says that in variegated leaf experiment, green parts alone tested positive for starch. That's a correct statement. Why? Now why I am coming with, because what that experiment actually proved, it actually proved that the green part of the chlorophyll is important for starch synthesis. Without green part, I cannot make starch or I cannot do photosynthesis. So it has to be something that green part is taking responsibility for starch synthesis. If something is on that line, I will be going with that question. So let's see. Reason is green pigment chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Again, this is how it is. That's what I thought, that in variegated leaf experiment, or most of you probably have thought that only, that are tested positive for the starch, green pigment or chlorophyll is necessary. So what is given? A process, a particular test is given. Now this test is done for what? That is given as a reason. It's a good explanation. Now check one thing. While solving many questions in many of the books, I've seen that these direction of these things, they don't change. First is correct explanation, second is not a correct explanation, third one is A true, R false, and then this is the fourth type, that is A and R false, which is not common that much, but here you have both A and R are correct, and the last one should be A is false and R is true. In NEET, last year, so they were different codes, so there are 5 codes and each code have 5 separate papers. So you have large number of papers being circulated, the content remain the same, but the options go up and down. And when students are doing these questions, there is a mental memory there, or more I say as a muscle memory there. You know, first answer should be what the correct explanation, and students go fast with that and they made that mistake. So it should not happen to you. So that's why deliberately we have, changed the places here. So A is false, R is true. So now I have changed the location. So I have to look for what is my answer. My answer is A is true and R is also true, and it is the correct explanation also. Where it is given? It is given as the 4th answer. So I will go with 4th version of the answer. That should be the way of doing things. So when you're looking for the statements, please, Assertion Reason statements, they look same to you. See, in the same paper, in the same page, I have given a 4th version. This is called old version of Assertion Reason questions. Both A and R are false. This, from few years, this kind of Assertion Reason have not appeared. But this is the new type of assertion that have appeared, and please look for the changes also. They will change the places. If students generally jump to the next questions at a fast pace, that should not happen to you. Let's go to the next one. So we are going with the next one. So we have next set of questions. When water with labeled oxygen was used for photosynthesis, oxygen released is also labeled. Now they are talking about what? They are talking about a Rubin-Kamin experiment, in which they labeled the water in which O18 is there, and what they found out, that the oxygen that is being released, that is also O18 type. So again, a test. If a test or experiment is given, then what was the final observation? What was the final inference? That should be the reason why it was happening. So what was the final inference of that particular thing? That photolysis of water, or the lysis of water, is happening. Because of that, who's getting released? The oxygen is getting released. That is the reason that is something that the experiment proved. So what is the answer for that? Oxygen released during photosynthesis comes from water. That is our thought process. That was the thought process of that experiment also. So again, we have a changed place. So I know this is a correct statement. This is the correct explanation also. So I will go for both A and R correct, and R explains the A. All the questions have been this only, in which everything is correct and it's a correct explanation. Don't worry, in the middle we have put deliberately some questions which might not follow this also. Let's see that. Let's go to the next question. Again, I'm putting my hand in. Non-cyclic photophosphorylation is a type of double excitation reaction. Now, this version is not in NCERT. It is an interpretation of NCERT. As such, NCERT doesn't use the word double excitation. But does it make sense to me? Let's see, it says non-cyclic photophosphorylation and it uses the word double excitation. Excitation of electron is happening in PS2 and PS1. So is electron getting excited twice? It is getting excited twice. If it is getting excited twice, then it looks like a correct statement. So, and while going through this, I did one thing. I went for with the reason also. Because excitation happened in both PS1 and PS2, that is why it can be what? It can be double excitation reaction. So my entire thought process came through. Let's see the reason. Reason is PS1 and PS2 are simultaneously excited during the light reaction. This is a line from NCERT. It does explain the assertion that is present. It is also the correct explanation. All the questions till now are of correct explanation type. Again, this is the process type question. In a process is given. Now, why this process is occurring, that should be the reason that should be present there. Let's go into the next question. So we are going with the process of ATP synthesis in chloroplast is called photophosphorylation. Now, they are naming the process in this. The process of which synthesis? ATP synthesis is called photophosphorylation. Now tell this. Why? Now my head is going through, why it is called photophosphorylation. Photo means light, phosphorylation means making or breaking of ATP. So something to do with light. Why it is a photophosphorylation? Because in the presence of light, you make ATP. That is the reason in itself. The process of ATP synthesis, chloroplast is called photophosphorylation because in presence of light, what is being generated? You are making ATP. Yes, there are a lot of things happening in the middle. That proton gradient and all those things will happen. But it should, the reason that I am looking for should talk about light or presence of light, and it should talk about ATP synthesis. If that much is available, then probably I will be okay with that. Let's see what is the reason given. Reason is the breakdown of proton gradient across the thylakoid membrane provides enough energy to cause a conformational change in F1 particle of the ATP synthase enzyme. Very good statement. That's what happens. When the protons are moving across the ATP synthase, you get what? You get the ATP. But it does explain the phosphorylation. Na? Where is photophosphorylation? If a reason is given, it has to be the complete reason. Is it telling me a part of it, or is it telling me? So, I am not reaching that 60-70% level. I am reaching that 50% level. Half the part is okay, proton gradient, and you'll. But problem is that it can also be claimed. The same exact thing can be claimed for what? It can be claimed for mitochondria also. So this is not a correct one. So this has to be taken as what? This has to be taken as, or this cannot be taken as a complete reason, though it looks true. So breakdown proton gradient across thylakoid membrane provides enough energy to cause a conformational changes in F1 particles of the ATP synthase enzyme. That looks okay. I think that this is not telling me the photo part of the entire thing. Because of that, I am not convinced that it is an exact explanation of that. So I will say that R cannot explains the A. Now, if you have a good eye, you might find a small mistake in the question also. Now, what is that mistake that is there? In NCERT, from 2018 onwards, they have now not been using F1. They are using what? CF1 now. I have solved it 3, but somebody can claim also that CF1 particle of the ATP synthase is not there. So again, see, now this creates an overthinking part. Now, if ATP synthase is there, can I take a F1 or F0 not? CF1 is also kind of F1. We can take that. But again, if somebody wants to say, no, this is not correct, they can go to some other way also. Okay, let's go to the next one. Assertion A at low light intensities. Low light intensity they have given. So who is limiting? Light is limiting. Neither C3 nor C4 plants show increased photosynthetic rate even at high CO2 concentration. They have taken a line from NCERT. NCERT says if light is not limiting, then CO2 can be limiting. If light is limiting, then anything doesn't matter. Who's going to be limiting? Light is going to be limiting. They have taken direct NCERT line. Low light intensity, neither C3 and C4 plants show increased photosynthetic rate even at high CO2 concentration. That is a correct statement. Now it is gone into a bit of complicated territory. So let me break down the statement and can I think of a reason there. So at low light intensity, neither C3 C4 plants show increased photosynthetic rate even at high CO2 concentration, because what is happening when light is limiting, what is not happening? I am not getting light reaction to my full potential. Because of that, what will not happen? You will not have higher amount of light reaction products like ATP and NADPH, and when they are not there, what cannot happen? The glucose synthesis and all those things can also not happen. So they said, so let's repeat the experiment. At low light intensities, neither C3, C4 plants show increased photosynthetic rate even at high CO2 concentration, because they cannot, because light is not there. The plant is not getting enough ATP and NADPH and is not working. Let's see what is the reason given. Low light intensity limits the production of ATP. See, what I thought is there. Production required for Kelvin cycle in both the cases. In both C3 and C4 plants, Kelvin cycle is the place where the CO2 will finally be converting into glucose. So what I thought is there. So I will say I will say it is the correct explanation and we can go ahead with it. Again, this is a crisp question. Whatever is the concept related, that is why C3 and C4 plants are not behaving well at low light intensity. That is the reason given in NCERT also. This question has also used the same thing. Let's go to the next thing. So next thing we are doing last set of two questions for photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, purple and green sulfur bacteria. Now my memory should take me where? It should take me to the part of Cornelius Van Niel experiment, who worked with purple and green sulfur bacteria. Oxygen is not evolved. So they are saying that O2 is not getting evolved. That was the case because when Cornelius Van Niel was talking about suitable oxidizable reducing agent, he actually used H2S. What he used? H2S in the system. And when you break H2S, you get 2H positive, you get sulfur, and you get electrons. But what you don't get? You don't get any oxygen in the mixture. So that's what happened there also. Let's see the reason. Reason is H2S acts as hydrogen donor in purple and green sulfur bacteria during photosynthesis. That's what we also said. That's also we thought. Now, here, understand this. We have to know the scope of the question on the basis of the question. Somebody can say, see, he also predicted that oxygen can be also released and also all those. Don't let your brain decide the scope of the question. The question is confined to purple and green sulfur bacteria. Rest, anything else doesn't exist. So in a green and purple sulfur bacteria, will I get the next reason that is possible? Yes. Don't think of other organism, aerobic, this, that, plant and all. That is not required. So because it's the correct explanation, so we'll go with what? We'll go with fourth because it is true and it is the correct explanation. Let's do the last question for photosynthesis. Assertion A. Indirectly, water stress leads to decrease in rate of photosynthesis. This is the last part where factors of photosynthesis are discussed. In this, the indirectly water leads to decrease in rate of photosynthesis. If I remember correctly, there are two reasons which are there given. First, it can cause wilting of the leaf. Leaf will lose its surface area because rigidity of the cells is gone. Because of that, you will have less surface area, less photosynthesis. Another reason that is given there, that in water stress, the stomata will close down, which will hamper the exchange of gases required for photosynthesis. Two reasons are given. Now, any of the reason is a correct reason in this. It's a similar question that we did for C3, C4 plant also. So, let's see, indirectly water stress leads to the decrease in rate of photosynthesis. Yes. How? Water stress leads to closure of stomata, preventing exchange of gases. I have come up with the second reason like that. I found my reason that I am looking for, and it is a what? It is a correct explanation also. Straightforward, direct, no overthinking, confined to NCERT, telling you the correct answer. NCRT tells you don't go here and they are looking for weird answers and don't overthink this. You will get the questions correct. First 10 questions done. Let's take a small break, come back again, and we are discussing the next 10 questions. So let me start with the next 10 questions also. So the next set of questions are coming from respiration. Now what we have deliberately done, for respiration part I have deliberately taken longer questions. See, so sometime assertion reasons, short assertion reasons are there, but let's say if an entire assertion reason question is more about, longer statements. So our chain of thought tend to break when the statements are big. So how to break down those assertion reason questions, how to look at them, how to find the keywords and what to look for that in reason. Okay, let's start with the questions from respiration. The first question is assertion. I'm again not looking at the reason, I'm looking at the assertion. Now I'm not putting the hand up because, okay, I have practiced this. So during respiration, the formation of ATP. So first of all, during respiration, what is happening? Formation of ATP through the, what is happening? Electron transport system in mitochondria is called oxidative phosphorylation. So respiration, you're forming ATP in ETS in mitochondria, which is called oxidative phosphorylation. I think all the statements, all the cogs, all the pieces of the statement work together. This is a correct statement because this does happen like this only. Now, again, this is a process based. The formation of ATP is called oxidative. Now, it can be compared to the question that we did previously actually. Here we talked about why it is called photophosphorylation. It is called photophosphorylation because, light and ATP synthesis is there and also. Let's check what is happening here. The energy released during oxidation reduction reaction, yes, it's a redox reaction in ETS, is utilized to create which gradient? Proton gradient, correct. In inner mitochondrial, across the inner mitochondrial membrane, correct. The subsequent flow of protons through ATP synthase drives the synthesis of ATP. All of these sentence parts are also working there. It talks about reduction, redox reaction, it talks about proton gradient, it talks about inner mitochondrial membrane, flow of proton. Flow of proton is what is making it what? Oxidative in nature because you are losing protons in this. And through ATP synthase drives the synthesis of ATP. This ATP is being made by the loss of protons, that is oxidation, in a redox reaction because of proton gradient. It does make sense. Everything aligns. That is why we are saying that it is the correct explanation. We have changed the position. Always look for the position of the questions. Never miss out on this. So here are true and R is the correct explanation of A. That is how it should be. This is how it is. Let's go to the next question. Now we are in the flow of these questions. We know how to deal with them. If anything special comes, we'll come discuss that. The respiratory pathway is amphibolic pathway. Now, amphibolism is mentioned. Amphibolism means the catabolism as well as anabolism. When you have destructive reactions and constructive reactions working together, or they are both involved in the process, it will be called a which process? Amphibolic process. Very clearly explained in NCRT. So, in amphibolism, I should be able to talk about catabolism and I should be able to talk about anabolism. If both the things are explained in the reason, I am looking for that. Let's see what is given in the reason. The respiratory pathway involves complete breakdown of glucose into CO2 and O2. This is what catabolism, correct? Explain the catabolism, correct? At the same time, the carbon skeletons produced at various stages serve as precursors for biosynthesis. Biosynthesis is the anabolism part of other molecules such as fatty acids and amino acids, making the pathway both catabolic and anabolic. What I thought exactly, it is writing that. So if it is writing that, if it is telling me properly what is amphibolism, what is anabolism, what is catabolism, then I will go with what? I will say it is a correct explanation. I have no issues in understanding. See, I'm always saying that I am having this problem because there is a bias from my side also. As a assertion reason solver, I have that bias also. There is some way that I am solving the question paper also. So that will also stay. So again, somebody can have other comments that this can be interpreted like this and all that. We are all for it. But NCRT is very clear what is amphibolism and that my reason tells me what is anabolism and what is cannibalism with reference to respiration. So I'll say it's a correct explanation. Let's go to the next one. So we are going to the next one, that is assertion. The role of oxygen in aerobic respiration is limited to the terminal stage of the process. That is correct. Actually, what happened? So you have cytochrome AA3. This actually is the one who gives electrons to oxygen and will become what? Will become water. That is what is happening. The role of oxygen in aerobic respiration is limited to terminal stage of the process. 100% correct statement. And that is the reason. I just write the reason. If I just wrote the reason, then I know the reason also. Let's check what is there. So you have reason in the electron transport chain. O2 act as the final electron acceptor. Final electron acceptor, correct. Combining with electrons and protons at complex 4. AA3 is complex 4. They have given another name that is called cytochrome C oxidase. Again, if I don't write complex 4, I can write cytochrome AA3 complex, I can write cytochrome C also. But question is over explaining. Question is telling all the things to form water. Does it participate only at the very last stage of aerobic respiration? It is exactly what I thought, or what I thought of when assertion came to my head. So it has to be a correct explanation. We are going for it's a correct explanation. Let's go to the next one. So when you're looking, before going to the next one, if you are looking into all this, bigger statement, break them into parts. If all the parts join, then only the statement is correct or it is not correct. Let's go to the next one. Assertion A, acetyl coenzyme A is often described. Okay, so, let's do this thing. Let's try to do it in a different way also. So one part, one step we have already discussed. That okay, assertion, reason, let's separate the two so that we can have a better answer. Second thing that we did also is that break the statement and look, see, now because till now we have not get so many statements which have, that reason is wrong or assertion is wrong. So from this point, we'll first do the first step in which assertion reason part. And that means we discuss, that the statement is there and all, and we'll also check the validity of the statement also. That if the statement A is true or false or not. So let's check that. Let's start with this. Acetyl coenzyme is often described as the connecting link. Connecting link is the keyword between glycolysis and Krebs cycle. Yes, they are connected by what? They are connected by linker reaction. And that linker reaction product is what? Acetyl coenzyme A. Makes it is a true statement. It should be true. So what is happening? Acetyl coenzyme is often described as connected between the two. Why it is reaction between the two? Because pyruvic acid enters, this is the thought process I am having, because pyruvic acid enters from the cytoplasm to mitochondrial matrix while being converted to what? Acetyl coenzyme A through a reaction called linker reaction or a gateway reaction. Check, is that the correct reason there available? It says acetyl coenzyme A is a 2-carbon compound. Yes, it is a 2-carbon compound. It's a true statement. What is the relation? There is no relationship between the two. If there is no relationship between the two, there is no connection between the two. And when there is no connection, this is both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation of A. Now somebody can go into that overthinking train. It is a 2-carbon because pyruvic acid loses one CO2 during linker reaction, then this can be true. Don't make the leaps. Don't make those jumps. Don't make those huge leaps just to justify the means. So, me thinking in a question and thinking that I am the one who is thinking in right direction is not the correct way. If your thought process that appeared to you is not there in your reason, don't go looking for it. Don't go in depth. Okay, if I think in this way and that way and this, and I can bring up the answer. That is not good idea. NEET have never given a question where you have to go to second, third, fourth layer of a concept to get to your answer. And this is what happens when you have solved so many assertion reason questions. Also, students tend to do this, that they overreach to the question, because what they want, they think the book is correct, so I should get that answer. So they make their own web of concepts which don't exist, which are not crisp, which are not clean, and create problem for them. Okay, let's go to the next set. Next is assertion, the product of the second phosphorylation in glycolysis. Now, second phosphorylation enables to supply two phosphorylated triose molecules. So, first phosphorylation is happening from glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, and second one happens from fructose 6-phosphate from fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. So, the product of second phosphorylation, they are talking, this is first and this is second. So, they are talking about second phosphorylation glycolysis enables supply of two phosphorylated triose molecules upon cleavage. Yes, cleavage is done, and when you clip F16BP, you get two molecules. One is called PGAL, one is called DHAP. Both of them are triose phosphates. Let's check. Actually, while doing this statement, I actually got my answer also. That should be the reason. That why triose phosphate? If I tell you this process, then it is done. So let's check. Fructose 6-phosphate is phosphorylated to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Till here, correct. In the EMP pathway, since this bisphosphate bears phosphate groups on both C1, yes, 1 and C6, its cleavage by aldolase yields two phosphorylated triose phosphate. Now this is a little bit fishy here, phosphorylate triose phosphate. So technically I should write phosphorylated trioses, but this does happen in question. Need also will happen when the printing is such that that the sentiment of the question is clear rather than the actual question being clear. So this is what yields two phosphorylated triose phosphate. It does have two triose phosphates or phosphorylated trioses, that should be the better one. But again, because in the example they have given DHAP and G3P correctly, so I'll go with that. It's a correct statement. A is correct, R is also correct, and it is telling that it is the correct explanation also. I'll go with the first one as a correct answer. Let's go to the next question. Next question is fermentation is a less energy efficient process. Now, as a whole, I don't like the statement because it is set up in vacuum. But because we are doing respiration question, then it makes more sense. Fermentation is a less energy efficient process with respect to aerobic respiration. That should be a better answer, better question. But yes, fermentation is less energy efficient. At least we have not done processes anywhere where which are less efficient than fermentation. So fermentation is a less energy efficient process. Why it is a less energy efficient process? There are 2-3 lines which actually tells that. One factor is given that there is less than 7% of the energy is released in the entire fermentation process. The only process that occur is in anaerobic respiration is glycolysis, which lead to only formation of 2 ATP by the end. Other talks about that this less efficiency is also explained in such terms that NADH2 that is being made during the glycolysis is readily used to convert into ATP in case of aerobic respiration, but here NADH is used to make something else. So this statement can warrant multiple reasons. Let's check if any of those reasons are there. The absence of oxygen does not allow complete oxidation of glucose. Now, see, so I came up with reason. I jumped the gun and I said, they should be there. I never said this reason verbatim. I never said this reason. So if it did not come to my head, should I say it's a wrong reason? Now, this is where the next level of assertion reason unlocks. Out of many assertion reasons where you can think reason of, because there are statements which have multiple reasons. Because there are multiple reasons, there are few reasons that might not be coming to my head right away during the paper. In that 3-hour concise period, how will I think of everything? So, let's take this statement on its face value. The absence of oxygen does not allow complete oxidation. I know that it is a partial oxidation of glucose fermentation. And yes, obviously, absence of oxygen has to be there. It's not like that it is by choice. They cannot survive in presence of oxygen. So, let's connect. Fermentation is less energy efficient because it cannot completely oxidize the glucose. Does it make sense? Can it have some semblance, can it be a one reason? It looks like a sound reason because you can't completely oxidize it. That's why that much energy will also not be released, because it's a partial oxidation. That's why you don't get much at the end. I say it's a correct explanation. So see, when you do assertion reason questions, when you do more questions, then you grow in that sense also. Not every question can be done, okay, I can think of every reason. Sometimes my brain is not working and I am having a brain fade. At the time it's not working. So yes, in those cases, I might go to my reason and connect the two statements and see if they are making sense. In this, they are making sense. That's why I took this. Let's go to the next one. Next ones are, assertion is, unlike animals, plants do not have specialized organs for gas exchange. This line is given along with do plants breathe section, that is given in photosynthesis. Unlike animals, plants do not have specialized organs. Yes, animals do have lungs, tracheal systems, but plants don't have them. Plants do have a vascular system, but they have nothing to do with gaseous exchange. So there are no specialized organs for gaseous exchange. Yes, somebody can think, sir, leaves can be specialized organs or a specialized organ for gas exchange. Leaves are not only for gaseous exchange. They are a specialized organ to do photosynthesis. But when it comes to specialized organs here which are referred, they are talking about lungs, they are talking about a pumping heart and all those things. So they don't have specialized organs for gaseous exchange. Now, plants do not have. Why plants do not have? That should be my answer. So what is the reason I can think of? I can think of plants do not have specialized organs for gas exchange because NCERT says that every organ in the plant is responsible for its own respiratory needs. Most of the living cells are present near the surface, which can take care of their own oxygen needs from the atmosphere, where roots can take dissolved oxygen, stems can use lenticels and stomatas if they are green, and leaves can already have stomata. Okay, I have talked about the big statement. Each plant part can take care of their own gas exchange. Yes, for that, I don't need any specialized organs. Each organ is capable of its own respiratory needs. So we'll say it is a correct explanation. See, keep on seeing this, that we are changing statements in the middle at places. We are changing the statement so that every time you're not fixated that first is the only answer possible or the fourth is the only possible answer. That's how it is. Let's go to the question number 18th. Assertion is, in the aerobic oxidation of glucose, only a small amount of energy is released in the form of direct ATP molecules. Let's say in the aerobic oxidation of glucose, that means aerobic respiration, only a small amount of energy is released in the form of direct ATP molecules. Direct ATP molecules are being synthesized in SLP, substrate level phosphorylation. What is my net gain from SLP? My net gain is 6 minus 2. So I will go with what? I will go with 4 is my net gain, which is very, very less, because if we do with NADH and FADH and take them to ETS, we get around 34 ATP. It is less with respect to what? With respect to ETS. Let's check what is the reason given. Out of 38 ATP molecules produced as net gain upon oxidation of glucose, only 4 ATPs are directly formed by substrate level phosphorylation. We just calculated that. The remaining 34 are generated by oxidation of reduced coenzymes. Reduced coenzymes means FADH2, NADH2 through the electron transport chain. This is what is mentioned in respiratory balance sheet also. Thing I thought, SLP actually does make very small amount is in direct form. We actually get a lot of them from oxidative phosphorylation. It is clearly exemplified in the statement also of the reason as well. So we'll say it is a what? It is a correct explanation of this. Can we go to the next part, please? Next is assertion. In electron transport chain ETC, the number of ATP molecules synthesized depends on the nature of electron donor. So see, it is saying in ETC, electron donor. Who is electron donor in ETC? Who gives electrons? You have two. You have either NADH2 or you have something called FADH2. These are the electron donors. One is at one gives electrons at complex 1, another one gives at complex 2. So we have done this in NCERT. It also says for NADH2 I get how many ATP? I get 3 ATP. For FADH2 I get how many ATP? I get 2 ATP. So Is it changing with the changing NADH? If I get that reason in the below part, I can say that. Let's check. Different electron donors, NADH plus S positive and FADH2 enters ETC at different complexes, complex 1 and complex 2 respectively, pumping different numbers of the protons into the intermembrane space, thereby generating different proton gradients and yielding different amounts of ATP. Much fancier way of saying what I was saying, but yes, on the basis of NADH2 and FADH2, you have different number of protons moving in. Because of that different proton gradient, potential energy in proton gradient is also different. Because of that, ATP formation is also different. I will say that it is the correct explanation as well. Next one is assertion. No ATP molecule is formed in alcohol fermentation by oxidation of reduced coenzymes. Again, who are reduced coenzymes? These are the reduced coenzymes they are talking about. So, did we make any ATP from reduced coenzymes? Remember, if we are having, so we make NADH2, that is made during the 6th step of glycolysis. This thing goes and it reacts with acetaldehyde. It is reacting with what? Acetaldehyde. Because it reacts with acetaldehyde, it loses its proton to acetaldehyde to make what? Ethanol. So will I ever have something called ETS? No, ETS mechanism is not available in an anaerobic organism. So let's check the reason. The reduced coenzymes molecules NADH formed during glycolysis are used in the reduction of acetaldehyde to ethanol, thereby regenerating NADH without entering the electron transport chain. I thought the same thing. Because my reduced coenzyme is never having any opportunity to go to ETS. So will it ever going to make ATP? No, it is the correct explanation. See, we are going a little bit fast at this moment. We already understand what these reasons are. Only thing is that we are taking the concepts in and we are just trying to solve these questions without overthinking them. I am just going to the first thought process that is coming to our head when it comes to this, and we are solving these questions. Let's go to the next set of questions now. We are going to plant growth and development. Plant growth and development are not that process-based chapter. It is more of a factual chapter. A lot of facts are given there and a lot of activities of hormones and activity of this and that are mentioned. So let's check. Can we solve some questions with PGD also? So assertion is, for proliferation of callus is mentioned in experiment of F. Skoog, in which he was talking about the cytokinins. From internal segments of tobacco, besides auxin, extract of vascular tissue is essential. The line in NCERT is about vascular tissue, yeast extract or coconut milk. They are not saying only vascular tissue, they are saying vascular tissue is essential. That is correct, it is essential, but you can have other things also. Not a problem, looks like a correct statement. Now why it is required? So for proliferation, okay, internal segment besides auxin extract, because you need cytokinin which are present in the vascular tissue. That cytokinin will induce the cell cycle or induce the cell division, which will finally lead to the formation of callus. Is that the reason given? Let's check the reason. Reason is vascular tissue extract contains abscisic acid. Useless. It says abscisic acid. It doesn't make sense. It should be cytokinin, it should not be abscisic acid. Cell elongation and suppresses callus formation. It is blatantly a false statement. It's a wrong statement. So when it is a wrong statement, for the first time we are doing that question. So we are saying that A is true, but R is false. So let's check. A is true, R is false. Look for the statement, mark it. Don't assume that it is automatically going to be the third one, though here it is third one. Let's check the next one. Assertion, plant growth and further development is intimately linked to the water status of the plant. It is given line in NCERT like that only. And what is the reason? What does actually plant do? If you go to development process, cellular development, you have something called elongation. You have something called vacuolation, turgidity. All these parts of the initial development of a cell are related to water. So without water, can I have a cell reaching up to a particular size to take up newer activities? Not possible. So let's check what is the given. Turgidity of the cell helps in extension growth as well as cell enlargement. Without that, cell cannot go further. It is supposed to be the correct explanation. This is how NCERT explains it also. No where else it just goes into any other parts and all. Though there is one statement related to water, is that water provides the medium for enzyme activity, but that is not relevant here because they are talking about development here and intimately linked with the status of the water. The question is about the status of the water. Question is not about the presence of the water. Status of the water will be that water should be in higher quantity or lower quantity. That will extend my, so presence of water is important for enzyme activity also, but status of water is important for the cell enlargement. Crystal clear question, no issues there. Let's go to question number 23. Assertion A. Plant growth is unique because plants retain the capacity for unlimited growth through their life. This is one of the most common line that you will see in PGD. Why they have unlimited growth? Because they contain what? Meristems. As simple as that. Because they have these meristematic cells which are present throughout their body, not throughout, present in the specific areas in their body which keep on dividing. Even before death they are dividing, they never stop dividing. That is why you have unlimited growth. So plants possess meristems at certain locations in body where cells have the capacity to divide and self-perpetuate. Two back-to-back lines in NCERT, but in this case, they are the assertion and the reason. That's why it should be treated as a correct explanation. So I will go with the first, that is both A and R and true, and R is the correct explanation of A. See, in this chapter, things are clean. They are crisp. You have this and this does this. In respiration, I can think of multiple things. In photosynthesis also, I can think of multiple things. In PGD chapter or plant growth and development chapter, you have these concise statements given. Content is also less. That allows me to navigate these questions at a faster pace. I don't have to complicate my thought process. Next one, 24th. Assertion. Abscisic acid is widely known as a stress hormone in the plant. So you think anything of stress. It causes abscission, it causes closure of stomata, or it is a general stress hormone in which anything that is happening, let's say desiccation is happening, dormancy is happening, it is going to be present there. That should be my expression. Let's see, ABS stimulates closure of stomata. Yes, it's a negative activity and increases the tolerance of plants to various kind of stresses. That is why it is called a stress hormone. I don't think there is a better stress hormone is there. Why it is called stress hormone? Because it is increasing tolerance to various kinds of stresses. I am giving you the best answer possible that is available. That's why the best answer means it is the correct explanation also. There is no ambiguity in my head about the question. Straightforward singular question. Expect these kind of questions in NEET. These are the questions you will get. You will never get a question, or I hope that you never get a question in which you will have to overthink your position. Next one is assertion. In most higher plants, the growth of lateral axillary bud is inhibited. Now this is saying what? In most higher plants, the growth of lateral or axillary bud is inhibited by the presence of apical bud. That is correct. What is the reason? At apical bud, you have this higher amount of oxygen that has been generated. This oxygen goes down and it doesn't allow these lateral buds to germinate further or to grow further. That should be the reason. Cytokinins help to promote apical dominance. Cytokinin. Do they promote apical dominance? No, they are against. They are preventing apical dominance, or they are antagonistic to apical dominance or oxygen. So help to promote apical dominance. 100% a wrong statement. Cytokinins actually prevent apical dominance. So R is wrong. So I don't have to think that reason and all that. I'm going with this. So here A is true, but R is false. Little axillary meristem inhibited the presence of apical. My oxygen thought process is not there, so that's why it's a false statement. Next one. Assertion. Underwater rice grow down. This is the question in 2025 NEET. Underwater rice varieties grow tall. I think 24, 25. Underwater rice varieties grow tall due to ethylene. They do grow tall by ethylene. It is given along with ethylene. Underwater or deep water rice varieties which are there grow by ethylene due to ethylene. That is okay. Next one. Sugarcane yields increased by 20 tons due to gibberellin. See, actually this deep water rice variety, they grow by ethylene, in which they increase the internodal length increase for them. That is not there. They have given about a different hormone altogether. That is sugarcane increases by 20 tons per acre due to gibberellin. That's a correct statement, but where's the connection? There is no connection there. If there is no connection there, then it is not a correct explanation. I will go with the second one as the answer because they don't share anything. Two statements are completely unrelated, nothing to do with each other. Next one. Assertion. Assertion is Na is an artificial or a synthetic oxygen. Yes, naphthalene acetic acid is a synthetic hormone because it is made by human intervention. I'm not thinking of many reasons, but yes, because it is not naturally occurring, it can be synthesized in a laboratory or something like that. Reason is 2,4-D is used as a VD site. Yes, it is used as a dicot VD site. But which is the connection? No connection here again. Again, no connection. But both the statements have their validity in own course. So we'll say that both A and R are true and R is the correct, sorry, my mistake. Both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation. It should be the answer. No relationship whatsoever. See the next one. Cytokinins help to induce cell division. 100% correct. They are going to help induce in cell division. Now, what can be the reason? Does NCERT give anywhere how cytokinin causes this? If I remember correctly, NCERT have not given any molecular pathway. It has not explained anything. That they do say that cytokinesis or cytokinins do induce or do make cell divide, but it don't tell us that how does it do it. First of all, that is not there. So to be very frank, if I am confining myself to NCERT, I am not getting any reason. So I am now dependent in this question that what is given in the next thing. So let's check. It says cytokinins are found in coconut milk as zeatin, that is given line. Zeatin is found in corn kernels or the maize. You can have coconut milk can also be source of zeatin. Correct statement. Also correct statement. But if I connect cytokinins help to induce cell division as it is present in coconut milk, as zeatin is present in coconut milk. Doesn't make sense. No connection whatsoever. I can't see any connection here. If I don't see any connection here, I will say it is not the correct explanation. See, I have taken simpler questions in this. NEET questions are going to be that crisp. They are not going to be much into them. They're not going to be that complicated. Let's go to the next one. Assertion is ethylene spraying increases the yield of the cucumber. The reason that is there, that is femaleness, because they increase what? They increase female flowers in the cucumbers, which will lead to the higher yield. That is the reason that is exactly given in NCERT. Let's check. Ethylene promotes female flower formation, thereby increasing the yield. I think it's the correct explanation. This is what I thought also. This is what is given in NCERT as well. No question asked. Simple, easy, direct, factual question. Assertion A. Underwater leaves of buttercup are different from aerial leaves. So that is correct. So underwater leaves, NCERT use the word, they are dissected, and the aerial leaves, they are going to be simple leaves or the normal leaves, or they are broader in shape. Let's check. Underwater leaves are dissected, correct, and aerial leaves are normal in buttercup as shows environmental heterophyly. There is environmental heterophyly also. I don't have to go anywhere. You will get back-to-back statements which are present in NCERT which are explaining this. Under environmental heterophyly, both the statements are correct. Underwater leaves are dissected and outer leaves are looking normal. I have no problems there, and they have different kind of leaves. I will say it is the correct explanation of this. We have done 30 questions. We have seen from different aspects how can I make the questions. While I am moving to the microbes in human welfare, why don't you take a small break? Though I am continuing here, take a small break, come to the next 10 questions. Next is microbes in human welfare. Again, a good chapter to solve assertion reason questions, because again, a lot of facts, and facts give me crisp assertions and crisp reasons. Let's go to the next one. I am starting with the first question, that is 31. Assertion is BOD is a measure of organic matter present in water. BOD is measure of organic matter present in water. Yes. Why it is a measure? So basically it's an indirect measure. It actually measures the amount of oxygen that is required to break down the organic substance into its inorganic constituents. We measure that, which is actually in turn can be used it can be used as a measure for organic matter. Let's see what is they are saying. They are saying BOD refers to the amount of oxygen that would be consumed if all the organic matter in 1 liter is oxidized by bacteria. That's what I thought, that BOD is actually measure of this. And when we measure this, we already know about what also? Organic matter also. So because of that, I'll say both are connected statements, both are, and reason is explaining that how you are going to measure BOD, though indirectly, but you are going to measure organic matter in terms of amount of oxygen. 100% correct, direct answer. Let's go to the next one. Next one is assertion CO2 is produced during fermentation of dosa batter, bread dough, and the production of certain cheeses. That is correct. What is happening? Why CO2 is being produced? Because during fermentation, CO2 is released, which lead to the frothing and the holes in the cheese and all those things. So dosa bread and some cheeses are products of microbial fermentation, during which CO2 is released as a metabolic byproduct. 100% correct statement. That's what I thought also. So this is the correct explanation, because on all these you have this bubbly appearance, or you have this frothing, you have this leavening of the dough or rising of the dough, all because who is getting released? CO2 is getting released by microbial fermentation. Let's go to the next one. Next one is 33rd, is assertion. Tried spores of Bacillus thuringiensis. See, Bacillus thuringiensis is given in biotechnology section also, but a small section is given here as well. In biotechnology applications, it is given with respect to how you can use it as a recombinant biotechnology tool to get something, but their application as bio-insecticides or biopesticides is given here, in which we use what? Spores. So that is what is mentioned. Dried spores of Bacillus thuringiensis are mixed with water and sprayed onto the vulnerable plants such as brassica and fruit trees to kill harmful insects. Line from NCERT. That's what you do. What happens? So thing is, why you are spraying them. So what will happen? They will make something called protoxins. Those protoxins will go into the insect in larval stage or in caterpillar stage. They will go inside them, go in their midgut, get activated, kill them. That is why you are giving them. So if I tell the killing action, that why Bacillus thuringiensis are used, because they can kill the insects. So that will be my reason. Let's check. When sprayed leaves are eaten by the insect larvae, the Bt toxin, crytoxin, is activated in the alkaline environment of the larval gut, causing lysis of midgut cells and leading to the death of the larvae. This is what I thought. Why we are using them? So that we can kill the larvae by activity of which toxins? Bt toxin. It is a correct explanation. See, one thing, and why it is happening, why I am doing this, because I want to achieve this. So straightforward relation between assertion and reason exists. Question number 34 is statins are blood cholesterol lowering agents produced by microbes. Yes, they are blood lowering. So now, what is the key term? Blood cholesterol lowering agents. So if I can explain that how they are lowering the blood cholesterol, that will be my reason. So how they are doing that? They are lowering the blood cholesterol by competitively inhibiting an enzyme that is causing, or that leads to the formation of the cholesterol. That is the explanation that is given in NCERT. Statins competitively inhibits HMG-CoA reductase. Now this is not given in NCERT. A key enzyme in liver's cholesterol biosynthesis pathway, thereby reducing cholesterol levels in the blood. Not in NCERT, but see, they have discussed cholesterol biosynthesis pathway. They have discussed reducing cholesterol levels in the blood. By that only, and they use the word competitively inhibit also. They have given you everything. Some of you might not know this enzyme, that's not a problem, but are all the other elements fitting? Then you have to take that leap of faith that, if all the things are fitting in, so probably that thing will also fit in, because this is not given directly in NCERT, but it should work. So I will say it is a what? It is a correct explanation when it comes to this, because it is aligning with whatever NCERT is saying. Question number 35, assertion. Baculoviruses are excellent candidates for integrated pest management. Now, if you go to this integrated pest management line, how NCERT puts it, so baculoviruses are excellent candidates for IPM. So they have given a line, the use of such narrow spectrum biopesticide is done where you are near to a ecologically sensitive area and IPM, that is integrated pest management. So which property is important for IPM? It is their narrow spectrum insecticidal nature. If that is given in my reason, I am accepting, or I am going to say that it's a correct explanation. So baculoviruses are species specific narrow spectrum bioinsecticide. That's what I thought. That property makes them usable near ecologically sensitive areas and integrated pest management. It is going to be a correct explanation using NCERT to my own benefit, confining myself to NCERT to answer that question. Next one, question number 36. Assertion A, Trichoderma polysporum is a source of cyclosporin A. Okay, that's the correct one. Now see, Trichoderma is a source of cyclosporin. It's a source of, it doesn't say cyclosporin do something. It's a source of cyclosporin A. Now, in my head, I am not getting any reason. Something is source of something. Now, nowhere in NCERT is explained that how I am getting this, how it is formed inside that trichoderma, that I don't know. So let's see if there is a conclusive thing that I can use as a reason. Let's check. Streptococcus products can be used as clot buster. That is actually streptokinase. Correct statement. Two separate statements. Nothing or no relationship between them. If there is a no relationship between them, we will say what? It is not a correct explanation of assertion. Two separate things, two separate statements altogether. Question number 37. We have assertion. Assertion is large holes in Swiss cheese are created due to the CO2 produced by fungi. So large holes, Swiss cheese created by CO2, but is it a fungi? In NCERT, it is given as Propionibacterium shermani. It's a bacteria, it's not a fungi. It's a wrong statement. So it's a wrong statement, and reason can be treated as a separate statement altogether. Roquefort cheese is ripened using penicillium. That's a correct one. Penicillium roqueforti is used to ripen the Roquefort cheese, or one kind of blue cheese. So again, this one is working, this one is not working. Now, technically what is there? A is false, but R is true. This is how it is given here. Let's go to the next one. Next one is assertion secondary treatment of sewage is also called biological treatment. Yes, because we are using aeration tank in which microbes are used. First reason already came to my head. While primary treatment is called physical treatment because we do sequential filtration and sedimentation, which are both physical processes when it comes to this. So both the reasons are already clear. If that reason is there, that's my answer. Primary treatment involves only filtration and sedimentation to remove suspended and floating physical impurities, correct? Whereas secondary treatment uses microorganisms to decompose dissolved organic matter present in the effluent. 100% correct statement. That is what we thought also. So answer is going to be fourth one. Both A and R true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Straightforward. No problem that I have while making this answer, and probably you also don't have any problem with this question. Let's go to our last two questions for today. Assertion is biofertilizers are preferred over chemical fertilizers. Yes, we should be preferring them. So that's what in what line NCERT goes with, that biofertilizers are better than chemical fertilizers. So I can go for this, that biofertilizers are better because they are eco-friendly and they don't harm the environment. NCERT about the chemical fertilizer says that that they are hazardous to the environment, they can be expensive, and not all farmers can use them. All those things are there. So let's see, chemical fertilizer hazardous to the environment, that is given as a reason. That's why who's better? Biofertilizers are better. I'll say it's a correct explanation because that is the reason that come to our head as well. Simple question, correct answers. Assertion. Next one, question number 40. An organ transplant patient who is not provided with cyclosporin A may reject the transplant organ. Yes, it may reject because cyclosporin is an immunosuppressive agent which allows me to accept a graft or a transplant. So cyclosporin A acts as immunosuppressive agent. That is what I thought also. I'd say it's the correct explanation. See, chapters like PGD, microbes, when Assertion Reason comes from them, they are generally not complicated. They are on the easier side. So for today, I think this is all. Thank you for looking at this session. See, all in all, we did discuss that how to do Assertion Reason, but at the same time, you have just solved 40 questions of Assertion Reason. You have just touched upon 40 different topics in these 4 chapters, and that is a big thing as well. One thing, let me tell you, because this is the end time, you are going through these questions. A lot of questions you might be doing, you might be looking into your errors. Don't fret about each and every assertion reason error that you have made. See, the most of the assertion reasons that I have did, they are easy assertion reasons. They went fast. Only 1 or 2 are there where where we have to think, or we have to open that mind a lot. So when you are doing assertion reason, it is not required that, okay, it's assertion reason, let me think in complex ways to solve this. You don't have to think in complex ways. You have to think in simple ways. If you are going a little bit further, just confine yourself to NCERT. Let the question decide that what is your scope in that particular event. If you don't have that scope, don't worry about it, don't think about it. It's a super easy method. First, let me summarize everything. You start with assertion, look at the assertion, think of a reason. Reason come to your head, look for the reason, you find it very good. Another set, I'm reading an assertion, I come up with multiple statements coming to my head. Now, any of those statements can be the reason, go look for that. Sometime, probably, because there are so many reasons, I cannot think of everything. Now, do one thing, read assertion along with reason. So, this is assertion XYZ, and connect that reason to that assertion. Does that sentence make sense? If that sentence makes sense, then it is a correct reason. Sometime you will have bad questions also. You will not have any connection. Or if you have to make this in which you have to go to layered concepts. If I think this, then this is correct. If this is correct, then this is correct. And this is correct, then this is correct. If that is happening in assertion reason, it is you have gone off path. Assertion reasons have to have crisp making. They have to have these crisp statements to be used. Don't worry about them. If 1 or 2 statements out of 10 questions, if 1 or 2 are getting wrong, don't worry about them. You don't have to think that much. Hardly we expect 2-3 questions in it. If there are more questions, it's better for us only, because crisp assertion reasons are coming. You, in my opinion, most of you will not have any problem with them when it comes to the NEET paper. So for today, this is it. Probably in some other session, we'll be meeting again. Thank you.